Hi, my name is Katie Bogle, and this is Students Using AI Powerfully Effective, presented for NCBOLD. You are welcome to follow along with today's slides using this bit.ly right here. So it is bit.ly/NCBOLD24 AI student. Notice that all of that is in caps. That does matter. So again, bit.ly NCBOLD24 AI student. So feel free to follow along if you wish as we go through this. So first of all, who am I? My name is Katie Bogle. I'm a media coordinator at A.L. Brown High School. That's in Kannapolis. Kannapolis is basically halfway between Greensboro and Charlotte on I-85. I've been at A.L. Brown for 23 years. Yeah, I'm kind of a dinosaur. Before that, I was a Spanish teacher at the middle and high school levels. Other things about me, I am AIG certified, so that's one of my passions. I'm also the Sign Language Club advisor. I've done National Board certification renewal. But this year, I'm also a part of the NCDPI AI Collaborative, where I've been learning all kinds of different things about AI. That really kind of led into what my sessions ended up being for NCBOLD this year, was the different ways that impacts teachers and students. Also, I am the mother of two students. I have a rising college freshman and a junior at UNC Charlotte. So I have two Gen Z people who live in my house and can give me all kinds of thoughts from their perspective. All right, so I'm going to skip past those slides that we're using for the in-person piece of this session. What are you going to get out of this? So first of all, this is a recording, so don't stress about note taking. You can always go back, watch something, slow it down, watch it again, etc. There are going to be lots of links that you're going to be able to download or use, or just lots and lots of resources. And the ideas are going to be of varying complexity. If where you are on your AI journey is you're just getting started with it and you need some quick wins that you just click on this and it magically does what you want it to do, great, you're going to have that option. Or maybe you're a little bit further along, or maybe you're all the way to like really diving in deep into AI. You're going to get ideas that you can use as well. So generative AI is everywhere. I mean, we see it in advertising, we see it in just our daily lives with the chat bots that are created for us to use as adults. All right, so I want you to think about where you are on your personal generative AI and education journey. If you've never used it, you're just getting started, that's fine. Maybe you've created an account, but like never really played with it. Or you've used a few features of a couple of AI tools, or maybe you're already into differentiating for students and personalizing it for content. So one of the things I'm going to show you today is how you can actually use chatbots as instant student support. So that's going to be one of the things that we're going to talk about today, and how that could maybe even drive some innovative projects. So no matter where you are on this journey, I hope you kind of have an idea of where you are on that roadmap. My goal for today is to move you one step further on that journey. You're not going to jump from never used it to being able to teach others. I want you to walk out today with one simple idea that you can try in the next few weeks. Bonus if there's more than one idea, and double bonus if you think of a grander goal for the long term. All right. So as you're looking at AI and engagement, there's really kind of two sides to this ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to get to the top of the mountain where the summit is student engagement. But you can come at it in two different ways using AI. So my other session talks about teacher side, where you're adult, you can do whatever the heck you want. You can use whatever tool you want. That's the other session that I've done for NCBOLD. But what about students? What about them using the AI? That changes the game, because at that point, they have to be in compliance with student data sharing laws. And that really narrows down what your options are. But there are options. So you're going to see that there are going to be three main tools that I'm going to recommend for you to use with student-facing AI. They're going to be Canva, Magic School, and School AI. And then I've got another option that I'll kind of mention as well. But the point is, you have to stay with stuff that's within student data sharing compliance. And all three of those tools do cover that. As we go, if you're following along in the slideshow and you'd like an electronic note catcher, you're welcome to use that. But ultimately, because that's a link right there, what I want you to think about is, what is the potential need that you have that you're hoping to get ideas for today? So maybe you have a group of students that's not following along as well, or needs kind of like an individualized tutor, that you can't get to all of those students at the same time as they have everything else going on. Well, you can with AI. So what is a need you have for engaging your students, teaching your students, helping your students, that you think AI might be able to help you with? So think about that. Pause the video if you need to. All right, but what we've got to dive into here before we ever start putting kids in front of AI is thinking about what some of those best practices are going to be. First thing to keep in mind, AI is not a teacher replacement, okay? It is not going to take your place. It's never going to, because no matter how helpful it is, I love this quote from Fred Rogers, computers don't begin to compare in significance to the teacher-child relationship, which is human and mutual. A computer can help you learn how to spell hug. AI can tutor you in how to do things, but it can never know the risk or joy of actually giving or receiving a hug. So it is a tool, not a replacement. All right, so speaking of the tools, just to make sure we're all kind of on the same level ground as I start talking about these things, everybody knows that ChatGPT was kind of the thing that brought all of this generative AI to the forefront for education. That was the tool by OpenAI that went live, but Google had already been working on a similar thing called Bard at that time. It just made everybody have to speed up to actually release their tools. Those are your 5 main large language models like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Copilot, and Perplexity that the companies have out there for you to be able to interact with and talk to as an adult. You cannot put students in any of those because you've got to deal with parent permission, you've got to deal with safety issues. That's just not an option. Okay. However, those tools' functionality are a lot of times in wrappers. So those are programs that use that functionality to give specialized content in an easy way. So there are 3 today that those wrappers have been taken care of as far as FERPA and COPPA compliance, student data privacy, all of that. So those are the 3 things we're going to use. We're going to use those tools that wrap that technology into that. There are other wrappers such as Diffit, Goblin Tools, tons of other options, but these are the 3 that are student facing that I like. All right, so North Carolina is not silent about what students should do with AI. They've got a fabulous document, which you can see the link here, go.ncdpi.gov guidelines. That link will always take you to the most recent version of those guidelines. So what the guidelines say is that students should use AI because it is the best hope for closing the digital divide. It's going to help prepare them to be competitive in the current and future job market, but you must ensure that AI is implemented responsibly. You can't just throw the kids in there. So there's even a whole slideshow that they've put together for you about how to use AI and other such. I will give you those links. Everything you're going to see in the next couple of slides or several slides, I'm going to give you in a 1-pager. So you're going to get one document with all of the links. Obviously, you can follow these links from the slideshow if that's what you would prefer, but you're also going to get a 1-pager. So there's a full slideshow about how to use AI. But let's deal with the elephant in the room. AI and students, when you say those 2 words together, the third word that comes to your mind is going to be cheating, because students and AI equals cheating. Okay, that's not the case, but that's where most of the thought process is. So I did actually ask my daughters what their thought was about AI and students using it. And in summary, this is kind of what they said. that their generation thinks. If I use AI, I'm cheating. But if they use AI, the reason they do is because I don't have the time or the ability to do this right, or I don't think I have the time or the ability to do this right. So when students use AI thinking that they're cheating, they're doing it because they don't have enough time or they don't have enough ability, or that's what they think. All right, couple truths to ponder. Students are not cheating more than they were before AI. They are simply cheating differently. That's just the reality. Okay. But then we as teachers really need to look carefully at the motivation factors for why cheating happens and then mitigate those. So if your assignment can now be done in 5 minutes by plugging a prompt into ChatGPT and they can have the essay written and turned into you, the student's going to look at that and go, well, why don't I? I mean, it's just like, why would I not use a calculator? Why would I not Google something? If I can do it, why shouldn't I? So that's one piece. But then another one that I really want people to think about is grading. If students are working along on something and they're still learning, but then the fact that they haven't learned it yet is a grade that goes in the grade book, is that really what we want? So look at grading practices and make sure that there's a way for them to fail without it impacting their grade until you hit a summative assessment. So just kind of think about those kinds of things. All right. AI tools are just that, tools. It's all in the way we use them. So that is from Matt Miller, Ditch That Textbook, who's really kind of been on the forefront of AI and education, one of the leaders in that. So how do we want to use them? All right. Telling students what cheating is and what cheating isn't is probably a really good starting point, because that's something that they're already thinking about. So there is a great article by Matt Miller here and a podcast, if you prefer to do that, that talks about AI and cheating. But also he has this really nice graphic. So you can grab his original graphic, but it's not an 8.5 by 11. So I've got one that I've created that you're welcome to, where I simplified it down just a little bit. But I've also changed the canvas to be 8.5 by 11 for an easy printing. But the second slide allows you to change it however you want, change it as you will, but the canvas is now printable. Okay. If students don't use AI at this point, they're doing more work than they really have to. But if they only use AI, then they're out of control. So the good idea is to find that balance between the two. So the guidelines from North Carolina give some examples of appropriate AI use and some examples of inappropriate ones. And even further, you can actually have conversations with students about specific assignments. Are you going to tell them that this particular assignment has no AI use? Like, you tell them that from the get-go. But you can also change it. Like, okay, well, maybe you can use AI for this specific piece, or you can have it help you with editing. So this, again, you'll get these links to these infographics that you can use. This one is also really great because they need to realize that their usage of AI is ultimately their responsibility every time they use it. You can look back through this one, print this one, put it in your room, but ultimately they are the ones responsible for how they use it and what they create with it. All right. Other things they need to know is to never put personal identifiable information into an AI chatbot. They should never put their full name, birth date, photo, address, definitely not social security number, anything along those lines does not get funneled into a chatbot, because all that's doing is funneling that information into the learning data that data set that particular tool is going to use for future chats. So don't put any of that kind of stuff in there. Make sure your students know not to. What you do want to show your students to do is how to use AI for their future. Looking at the why over the what the process is versus the product. That's what, like I said earlier, if you can just create it in 5 minutes, why wouldn't you? What are the ethics of that? Okay, discussing that, how to be a better learner, how to use it, those kinds of things. But what we're about to dive into is we're about to dive into you giving ideas for students as to how to use it in the classroom. And the only best practice warning that I want for you on that one, beyond what we've already talked about, is this: Grecian urn activities. Does what you're going to ask the students to do consume way more time than is actually reasonable in relation to its academic impact? So if you're not familiar what a Grecian urn is, I actually learned this one from my daughter, who's an education major, that she had read this article. If you spend days and days and days doing paper mache to eventually make a replica of a Grecian urn, did that really, over days and days and days, teach you about ancient Greece? So consider making sure that what your activities you create, the amount of time that it's going to take the students to do it, do they get the right amount of academic benefit from that time? All right, that was a lot. So now let's dive into the piece that you really want, which is this. Okay, so now that we've talked about some best practices, what are the actual inspiration ideas? Like, what can I do with AI with kids? All right, all the ideas that I'm going to share with you are ones that have been done by real teachers and students, either in my school, as you can see in these pictures. These are all from my school and my teachers and my students, but other schools as well. So I picked a lot of stuff up off of social media and gave you some ideas there as well. All right, so let's dive in. Tool number one. Tool number one is Canva. So Canva is a tool that most districts in North Carolina do not have blocked, but it has AI embedded in it. AI is different on the student side than it is on the teacher side. So you can do more with a Canva teacher account than a student can do with a Canva student account. So please try anything that you're going to ask your students to do on a student device with a student login before you assign it to them, because they may not be able to see what you see. Okay. All right. But that said, what are you going to do with it? One great example here was actually from social media. A guy named Kalo Haslam gave me permission to share this idea. So what he had his students do as they were studying Greek gods was they had to create a concept god. Like, what could their Greek god do, and what would it look like, and whatever. And then they had to use Canva to create an image for what that god would look like. But then they had to write about it. So there's where a lot of the academic piece comes in, not just in the fun creation of the image, but that's a lot of prompt generation skills as well. If you think about it, that's also really good, future ready skills. But then how did they write about it in the story writing piece? So whatever it is that you can think of that's imaginary, an AI app for image generation can actually make that imaginary visible. Just be aware of the fact that there are limits to how much they get to use. And so talk about that with your students and make sure that you're covering those things. All right. Tool number two. This is my favorite of the three. So School AI, when I discovered this, I think it was around Christmas of last year, my mind was just blown, because this is what I wanted. I wanted students to have kind of their own personal chat GPT, but safely. And that's what School AI is. It allows you to be able to push out a chat bot to your students, but totally safely. And it has it in multiple languages. So you've got all these different languages that it can use. There's all these things you can go back and look at later. But for right now, what it does is you can go in and you can customize the chatbot, and you can tell it who it's for, what you want to tell it, what the conversation's supposed to be about. And then before you ever launch it to your students, there is an option to preview it. So before you ever send it for them, you can play with, okay, well, I'm going to pretend I'm a student, and this is the thing I've told it to do. I'm going to pretend that I'm actually answering it. Oh, that's not what I wanted it to do. So you go back and you edit your prompt and you try again. And so you're able to kind of, before you ever put it in front of kids, you get to easily preview it and see what a student is going to do with it. All right. Now, I'm going to give you, as one of the resources, you're going to get this School AI prompt tips that was created by Derek Oldfield. So as you're going in, if you're having trouble getting it to do exactly what you want it to do, look at some of these ideas for what you might want to put in there as far as parameters. I love this quote from a fellow teacher friend, Erica Eckelman, and she says, "I can't have conversations with 30 students at once, but the AI can." And here's what that means. In School AI, you can launch a link to students, and then you can monitor every single thing that the student types and also that the AI responds with, and you can see it for every student. So if you'd like to join in and actually play with this, you can go right now. You can pause the video in a second and go to schoolai.com/join. And what I've done is I've already gone ahead and pulled together for you a link that you can play with. Okay, so nobody's in here yet because I'm recording this in June before I ever teach this in July. But what you'll do is you'll simply go to that link and then put in 28NN. And then you'll be able to go in and actually play with it. So again, if you want to try this on your own, it's schoolai.com/join. And then your code is going to be 28NN. All right, that'll be, if you want to pause the video and go play with it, you can. Otherwise, let me show you what it's going to look like on the teacher side of things. So that's what the student side would look like. Let's look at what the teacher side looks like. So I did this exact same thing that you're going to get a chance to play with. I did it with my math department. And so I want you to see what that ends up looking like. I'll move this out of the way for right now. Okay. So over here, these are the teachers. They're the ones who put their names in. When I do this with students, I do ask them to put their actual name. And if they don't, then I simply remove that student. So I can just go right here and I can remove that student. If I can't tell who you are, you don't get to stay in my chat. Once they're in, then at that point, I can see everybody who's in, but I can also see everything that they're saying. So if I want to check on Evelyn's conversation, then I can see everything that she's saying and everything that it's coming back to. Okay. You'll also notice that it summarizes for me that they're struggling or not struggling. Like this one's doing it positively. This person's just getting started. So I didn't have to do that. It's doing that for me. And I can go see, what do you mean by positively? Like, what exactly is Nicole saying? And, oh, okay, I see what she's doing. Now, if Nicole is actually off task, then I can pause her at any moment. All I have to do is hit the pause chat. And right now, Nicole can't keep using it until she and I have a face-to-face conversation about what she's doing, why it may not be what she's supposed to do, okay? And then, you know, what she might need to do instead. We have that conversation human to human. And then when I'm ready, I can resume the chat. And then she's back in, she's able to keep going. But the other students never saw anything change on their end. If she just can't do what she's supposed to do, I can always remove her from the chat. And again, doesn't affect any of the rest of the students. I can also pause the entire chat. So if I don't want to keep up with it on off working hours, I can tell students, okay, the bell's about to ring. I'm now pausing your chat. You guys aren't going to be able to go in here. We'll resume this chat tomorrow. When I'm ready the next day, I can hit resume and the chat is live and they're back where they left off. So really, really easy to monitor those kinds of things. And again, if any student comes in the next day and they didn't get into the link to begin with, super simple. You just give them the link either in their LMS or the original main link plus the code. So they can join at any time. All right. So with that said, that's kind of an overall of what School AI does. Now let's look at what it already has for you, because you can put in whatever you want, but it already has some really cool stuff in there. All right. So the main page, the Discover page, you can go in by standard if you want. For Common Core, you can go in, and you can create just a quick bell ringer or exit ticket or take a video. And from YouTube and have it be an interactive experience. But they also have these chatbots already created. You can grab whatever is your subject area. So if you're a math teacher, you can click on math. The subject tutors are already ready to go, and you can just launch it. So those are already set, ready to go. You can go into collections on women's history, History Comes to Life, or one of my favorite collections for younger students. So even if you've got littles, there are a whole bunch of School AI sessions that you can go in and let them practice using AI on stuff that is appropriate for them. So stuff on addition or subtraction, already created, you don't have to do it. A little bit further down on the Discover page, you've got ones that are created by teachers like you. So maybe you're specifically hoping to find something for your multilingual learners. You can go in, you can search for that and see if somebody else has created something that you can use. Under more options, you can see anything and everything they've put as far as specifics, but you can always create your own version there. Okay. And then the final thing I wanted to show you on that main page is that you can just grab it by topic. So if you know that you're a math teacher, you can go to math, and then you can choose everything that was pre-created by School AI that's math related. All right, so they've done a lot of great work for you in advance, but you can always create your own as well. As you go in there and create it, keep in mind those parameters that we talked about earlier. Where you manage these things is under Spaces. So as you go to Spaces, we're in the Discover tab right now. Create is where you kind of start from scratch. But then once you've launched it to students, that's going to be under Sessions. Okay. So these are all the sessions that either I have ended or are active. If I want to duplicate something, all I have to do is do the 3 buttons right here and then go duplicate. When I'm done with it and I don't want to keep up with it anymore, I can end it. And you can see all of these. I can go back and relook at everything that was ever said, even though that chat has officially ended to the students. So really great options for being able to keep up with your stuff and see everything. You don't lose it even once you end it. All right, I think that pretty well covers School AI. So one example of how I've had a teacher use this is I had an AP World History teacher who went in and she used School AI in a couple of different ways. So the first thing she did was she actually used their chat bot as a teacher. She went in and asked it to create fictitious immigrants from the 19th century. So what that looks like on this end, that goes under the assistants and then co-teacher. And she went here to chat, and then she asked it, just like as if it was her own personal chat GPT, to come up with fictitious immigrants in the 19th century. And I've got your link there for what she actually got. She then took those profiles and assigned one to each group of students. Then she set up a space, and she told it in the space, she created her own School AI space to stay focused on the era of 1800 to 1915 and to answer students' questions that they had about that time period. And so what students were doing then at that point was looking at, say, an immigrant. So like, for example, this fake person, Carlo Rossi, never really existed. But in this fake profile, he moved from Italy to Buenos Aires, and then why he might have moved and what his occupation was as a tailor. So the student could ask the School AI space, what was it like to be a tailor in Italy in 1882? Like, they could go ahead and ask it that. It won't know anything about Carlo Rossi because he never existed, but it will know stuff about time in what happened in that time period. So just asking the AI questions about it, getting some background information about that time period. And then once they've had one class period to just start making notes, start understanding where their person would have been, where they were moving to, and why, Then at that point, the next day, they actually shifted to researching like old school researching, which of course, old school, that's Googling stuff and other such. So in reputable sources like our library resources, they started researching Italy in the 1850s or 1880s, and they started actually finding facts, but they had a background framework from that conversation with the school AI space to be able to move forward with their research a little more intelligently. She also then brought in the AI image generators in Canva, because what the students were going to be asked to do was create a poster of that person and why they moved, what their motivation was, what their journey probably was like, what pulled them away from their country, what pushed them out of their country. Anyway, all of these things were the things they were putting together in their poster. Yay, pencil and pen, non-techie stuff. But this image right here of Yumi Takamashi, because Yumi Takamashi doesn't really exist, was a Canva AI creation based on the student's prompt. So it was a mixture of students using AI for research and creation, but it was also AI helps her to create the assignment in the first place. So just a really great mixing of non-tech, AI, tech all together. All right, I'm going to briefly touch on this one because I really wanted to spend more time on the school AI, because Magic School essentially does the same thing. It rolled out just recently. It's a simple toggle from what you're probably familiar with, which is Magic School's teacher side tools. And you simply swap over here to Magic Student. Everything turns purple in the background, or at least does currently. And these are the tools that you can launch to your students. All right. So it works very, very similarly. I'm not going to demo that one. You can go in here and watch this video on how that works. You just choose the tools you want. You can also have an open-ended Raina chatbot for them, which is kind of like their own custom chatbot. Save the ones you like as templates. And unless you hide your customized prompt, they're going to see it. That's different than School AI. School AI, they won't see your prompt ever. You can have a co-teacher on the same room. That's different also from School AI. That's a feature I think they're working on, but it's not live yet. So if I and another teacher I'm working with are trying to see the students' responses at the same time, I can't do that in School AI currently. Again, hopefully that will change. But you can do that in Magic School in Student. And it will also offer suggested pre-typed responses, which is not something that School AI currently does either on the student side. So that's your third tool, is Magic School. If you're already familiar with Magic School in the teacher side, then Magic Student might be something that you want to play with on the student-facing side. Similarly, this is your link that you would put out there, and then you would give the students the code for your specific space. But what they call it is a room. So it's the same idea. Also, multiple languages, just like the student side on School AI. Okay, so without further ado, there's one final thing I want to point out. You don't have to use AI with students for them to learn about AI. So if all this idea of putting kids in AI creation for images or spaces and talking to AI, if that's still a little too much for you, you can still do something else. So the NCDPI guidelines have a page that are broken down by elementary, middle, and high school. And they give you other people's resources that teach about AI. So you're going to get that link, but it's page 17 and 18 in the current version of this. And you can look at some options for elementary. For middle, it actually gives you links to where you might want to go. And then high school, it gives you some links for some options as to what to do as well. So none of those actually require you to use AI unless it says as much, like School AI is mentioned right there. Okay, so this is going to be your chance in just a minute to pause the video and actually play with some of this stuff. First thing I want you to think through in this case is, what tool do you want to do? Okay, so if you want to just play with the image generators, you may want to just play with Canva. If you're already familiar with Magic School and you're curious about its student side, then maybe that's where you want to go. Or if School AI really caught your attention today with that ability, then take a look over there. And then the other option is the ones that don't require the students to actually use AI at all. They just learn about it, the DPI ones. So once you've chosen your tool, then I'm going to give you ideas within that tool depending on who you are and where you are on that journey. Okay. So let's say you're really interested in this idea of chat bots with students, but you've never really used much AI at all. You may want to look at some of the quick wins. That may be where you want to start. But maybe you're in Canva and you're like, no, actually, I think I could do something a little more, a little higher. Then choose something with a little more effort. Or you can kind of go trailblazing and really take it to the next level. But all of those tools will have those 3 levels that you can choose from. If you're not sure where to start, I would play with School AI. Try out a pre-created space or 2 that looks interesting. And then if you haven't, that's for the people who've never used it. Like that's the first place I would go. If you've created accounts and played with stuff, then try School AI, maybe try Canva, try that image generator. That might be a good place to start. Okay, if you're not really sure. Otherwise, just take yourself from where you are now and move to the next level. I am also going to provide for you a Wakelet. The idea for that is that across all of the people who get to see this session over the summer, it's going to share that same Wakelet. So right here, you're going to get that link, and you can put it in by elementary, middle, or high school. Or if your idea really does go across grade levels, like if I'm the high school teacher, I'm going to look at high school and across grade levels, and maybe I'll look at middle. So think about where you want to put it, depending on who your audience is that would be able to use that idea. This is not required. This is just if you find something really cool, or if you're a high flyer and you just like to share really cool resources, you can do that as well. So that is optional. The ideas that you're about to get on this one pager are just sparks. You're not going to find this exact idea listed for exactly what you need. It's just the ideas get you started, and then you're going to dig and figure out what works for you. All right, so that leads us to that one pager. So on that one pager, that's what this link is right here, the individual exploration. I have a bit.ly for it, which I was in here playing with just a minute ago, so I'll take you back to the top. So bit.ly/AI student ideas. So if you're going to bookmark anything from this session, this is what I would bookmark, because this is going to have everything you need. It's going to have the Wakelet. It's going to have the guidelines for North Carolina, but it's also going to let you jump around within this document to what you need. So let's say you're interested in School AI. You're going to hit that bookmark, and then it's going to drop you to a couple of quick reminders of what we talked about today, but then it's going to give you a few ideas for some quick wins, or a few ideas for a little bit more effort, or what if you really wanted to trailblaze, give you some ideas with that, okay? You can always go back to the top, go back up here, and then play with it. So the other tools, that's going to take you to that DPI stuff. So that's why I didn't put any little more effort or trailblazing, is because these are already ready to go. Elementary, middle, and high school. Just go straight to that, and it'll take you where you need to go. And you can start playing with those links. Also, back at the top, I have for you some generic AI resources that several of the things you saw me mention earlier, plus a whole lot more. But what I really like for you guys is this section right here. So these are the infographics I referenced, the prompts, ideas, and then even how to develop AI resistant assignments. But everything else that we mentioned earlier is already there, plus ethical use, including citing. All right, so pause the video, go play with that link, go play with bit.ly/AI student ideas. All right, so now that you've paused it and you've come back, these are my final thoughts for you. We did cover ISTE standards, just in case you're wondering, that's what those are. Most of the materials today were accessible. You can go back in and read through how Immersive Reader helps you with that. But the big thing I need you to take away is this. Anytime you're using stuff with students, please dog food it. That is an actual techie term for the idea of as if you tasted your dog's food. If you wanted to know what it tastes like, the only way you're going to know is to taste it. So anything you're going to try with students, try on a student device under a student login first before you put it in front of students. Anytime students create stuff with AI, they should cite it. There are actual guidelines for that with MLA and APA. And then right now, everything really is free. There's going to be limits to what you can do. But unless you're a massive power user, you're probably really not going to notice a difference with how much you get to use and whether it locks you out of things. There are all kinds of things on Facebook and Twitter for you to learn from social media, from other teachers. You can even get certified in those couple of tools, a Magic School and School AI. I haven't done the Magic School yet. That's why I don't know how many minutes it is, but the School AI took me about a couple hours. So follow these things, learn more stuff about these tools. Moving forward, that one pager is probably my thing I would suggest that you bookmark, which was the bit.ly/AI student ideas. Of course, you got this recording, go backwards and forwards, look at things more if you wish, along with the slideshow. And of course, I'm just a real human being. So if you want to email me or reach out on Twitter or Instagram, you can find that as well. And one final shameless plug. If you enjoyed this session on student side of NCBOLD, of AI and engagement and all that, I do have a separate one from the teacher side. So if you're interested in gamification, differentiation, engagement, that's what the other session is for from the teacher side. So no matter what comes our way with AI, we can still prepare students to adapt it. We can do that as we move forward, because ultimately we don't teach content. We use course content to teach people. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. If you come up with something really, really cool, I hope that you'll share it on the Wakelet, because that'll be the thing moving forward that is shared across all of us. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.